Okay, we have a very different setting right now because we're in the different room from the lime green room, but today it is going to be Roman government. Okay, it was kind of like a tripartite government, so that means that it was made up of three basic parts, you know, like a little triangle. Tri means three, triangle has three sides, tripartite, so it was like this, and then this. Okay, and so it was made up of three basic branches, which was executive, legislative, and then the judicial branch. Oh my gosh, I cannot say things today. So starting off with the executive branch, it was made up of two councils, okay? And they each serve for 1 year, but together at the same time. So you know how we have the president, and it's one president that serves for 4 years? Well, they had two councils that served for 1 year. Stop! And then they just led the government, and then they commanded their army, and they enforced the laws when they got it from the judicial branch.
Are they eating?
Now we're going to start talking about the legislative branch. And the legislative branch was kind of made up of two different parts separately, but to make one. So in the legislative branch, they had the Senate and then the assemblies. And in the Senate, you had 300 members that watched over the councils and then set policies, okay? But then in the assemblies, you made laws and then had selected officials, okay? So they made the laws, they thought of them and started them first. Now, the judicial branch was 8 judges that they kind of oversaw the courts, and they governed provinces. They would get the newly found law from the legislative branch. They were the second step in the process, and they would interpret the law in court and see what the people said. So they interpreted it in court. And then they had a legal code, okay? So you know how we have the U.S. Constitution? Well, they have the 12 tables, okay? So that was a basis of law which gave citizens legal, economic, property, and social rights, okay? The only reason that they developed it was because the patricians and the plebeians, okay? So the plebeians resented the patricians for having so much power, so it caused so much tension. So the patricians passed a written constitution called the 12 Tables in 450 BC, and that established basic rights and duties, and they hung it in the middle of the town for all to see, so that they would not be chipping out the plebeians on anything all, okay? And also, one thing that I did not mention, the Senate was made up of the patricians, and then the assemblies were made up of the plebeians, mostly, okay? Things varied, okay? One other thing also is that when there was a time of war or crisis, the two councils had to decide what to do. So instead of them conflicting each other, thinking about what they wanted to do and compromising, they just gave all of their power over to a dictator until the end of the war. That was a pretty unique thing about Roman government.